The day I was fired, my boss didn't even look me in the eye. "Jack," he said, voice icy. "We've reviewed the accounts. You've misappropriated company funds. You've been embezzling for months." I sat there, stunned, hands cold on the table. "What are you talking about? I've been working overtime." "No more lies," he snapped, slamming the file in front of me. "This is a career ender. You're not getting another job in this industry after this." He gave me the coldest smile before I was escorted out of the building. The whole office watched, some whispering, some avoiding my gaze. It was done. Or so he thought. I didn't leave the office that day. I called my lawyer. I spent the next few weeks gathering documents, reviewing the financial statements, auditing every single transaction. Every red flag was right there, clearly visible, from his personal expense claims to the irregular bonuses. He'd been skimming, not me. A month later, I got the text from him. "We need you back urgently." I didn't respond. Instead, I showed up the next day with an attorney and a copy of the full audit. And the moment he saw that, his face went ashen. My boss stood frozen in the lobby when he saw us walk in, me, my attorney, and the thick envelope in my hand. He tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Jack, what's this about?" I didn't answer. My attorney did. "Mr. Roberts," he said, voice smooth and calm. "We have all the documentation showing you've been taking funds from the company's accounts. You've been embezzling, and it's all here. Every transaction." Robert's face drained. He glanced around like he expected someone to step in, like he could control the situation. But no one did. I placed the envelope on his desk. "Feel free to call your accountant, your lawyer, or anyone else you trust to confirm. This is a full audit of the last 3 months," I said, watching him squirm. "But if you'd prefer, we can skip the middleman and take this straight to the authorities." He glanced at the door. The room felt colder, heavier. My attorney added, "You can still settle. We're not looking to ruin you. But the offer ends today." Robert's hands shook as he reached for the envelope. He knew it was over. "You think this will just disappear?" I asked, leaning forward. "You're done." The silence that followed? It was louder than any confession. Roberts took the envelope in shaking hands, his eyes darting across the pages, scanning quickly, trying to make sense of what was unfolding. His voice came out low, almost pleading. You don't understand. I had to do it." I cut him off, leaning forward. "No, you don't understand. You thought you could bury me. You thought you could throw me out and walk away with everything." His eyes flicked to my attorney, who stood silently, arms crossed, waiting. "We'll need the full company financial records. Everything from the last 2 years," my attorney said coolly, his tone carrying a weight that made Robert's posture slump. Roberts tried to stand his ground, but the walls were closing in on him. You can't do this. I built this company. Without me, you wouldn't have a job. I made you." His voice cracked, a desperate attempt to control the narrative. "You didn't make me," I said quietly. "But you sure did make this easy. You let your ego destroy your career." My phone buzzed, a notification. I glanced at it. The SEC just received the report. "The file's been flagged." Roberts noticed, his expression faltering. "Do you want to call your lawyer, or should we just head to the courthouse?" Robert's hands trembled, his face flush with panic. I watched as he tried to gather his thoughts, searching for an escape, a way out. But there was nothing left for him to manipulate. He sat down, slumped in his chair, his arrogance evaporating. I didn't think it would go this far," he muttered, eyes fixed on the floor. I wasn't listening. I was too busy watching his empire crumble before his eyes. The man who'd fired me to save face, the one who thought I'd never amount to anything, was finally facing the consequences. But I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. The silence in the room was suffocating. My attorney finally spoke, breaking the tension. "We've given you a chance to make this right. But you've burned every bridge." He slid a contract across the table. "This is a formal request to turn over all company assets, effective immediately. If you cooperate, we'll talk about a settlement." Robert's eyes flitted to the paper but didn't touch it. He stared at the wall behind us, his jaw clenched. "I built this company," he said again, as if the repetition would make him believe it. "You built it on lies," I replied, voice steady. "And now it's over." He didn't respond. He didn't have to. The next few days felt like a blur, a mix of meetings, phone calls, and documents being filed. It was surreal watching Robert slowly lose control of everything he'd built, all because of his greed and pride. By Friday, the company board had been called in for an emergency session. They had no choice but to acknowledge what had happened. Roberts had attempted to cover up his actions, but the proof was undeniable. I sat in the back of the room while the board members tried to salvage what was left of the company's reputation. The chairman, a man I'd once trusted, stood at the front, shaking his head in disbelief. "We're facing serious financial loss," he said. "We need a plan to recover." I leaned forward, my voice steady and clear. "The first step is firing Roberts. You can't recover with someone like him still running the show." The room went quiet. All eyes turned to me, but I wasn't asking for permission anymore. "We'll also need to restructure the company's finances," I continued. "A full audit and transparency moving forward. No more hiding things in the books." One board member spoke up. "You're suggesting we give you control?" I nodded. "Exactly." And for the first time in years I didn't feel powerless. By the end of the day, Roberts was officially removed as CEO. The board, for the first time in years, listened to me. The man who'd once been discarded as not enough was now the one holding the power. It was surreal. I wasn't just taking control of the company, I was taking back the life Roberts had tried to ruin. The next morning, I called the team I'd been working with over the past few months. I'd already drafted a plan for restructuring. New roles, new leadership, a transparent financial model. We were going to rebuild from the ground up with integrity. But that night I got a call from Roberts. "Jack," he said, his voice shaking, "I never thought you'd do this. You've destroyed everything." I didn't let his words sting. "You did that. Not me. Please," he begged. "Don't do this. We can work something out. Just let me back in." I didn't respond right away. I just let the silence sit between us, letting him sweat. Then I spoke, my voice calm. "It's too late for that. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine." I hung up. And for the first time in years I didn't feel like I was losing. I was winning. The days after Roberts was fired felt like a slow unraveling. The company was in disarray, but we had a plan. I stepped in as interim CEO, but I wasn't interested in playing the power game. I wanted results. The first change I made was to overhaul the financial structure. I wasn't about to let Robert's dirty dealings taint everything I'd worked for. Every penny he'd stolen, every lie he'd told was now under scrutiny. It wasn't about revenge, it was about transparency. I worked around the clock, meeting with stakeholders, investors, and legal teams. The media picked up the story, but they didn't have the full picture. They had no idea about the depth of Robert's betrayal or how much he'd truly cost the company. 2 weeks later, we finalized the company's recovery plan. It was a tough pill for everyone involved, but we had a clean slate. But then the call came. "Jack, it's me." Robert's voice was rough, desperate. "I've lost everything. My house, my business, my reputation. I'm begging you. Help me get back on my feet." I sat back in my chair, looking out over the city skyline. The same city that used to belong to him. Now it was mine. "I can't," I said finally. "I'm done with you." And I meant it. The months passed and the company slowly regained its footing. We had rebuilt from the ground up, but it wasn't just the balance sheets I cared about anymore. It was the people, the team who had trusted me when they had no reason to. The press loved the story. The comeback kid. The rags to riches tale, where the hero reclaimed everything he'd lost. But the real story was what happened behind closed doors. The late nights at the office, the hard decisions, and the quiet confidence I'd built in myself, piece by piece. Then one morning I saw an email from my father. I hadn't heard from him since that day in the office. I opened it, heart racing. Subject: "We need to talk." The message was simple. A few short lines. "I know I haven't been there for you. I made mistakes. I'll never be the father you wanted. But if there's a chance we can fix this, let me know." I stared at the screen. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called Ava into my office. She walked in, quiet as always. "Dad," she said, looking up at me, "is everything okay?" I smiled. "Yeah, kiddo. It is." And for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of my decision settle like peace.